Okay, let's talk about the summer. Now the heat's kicking in. One of the things that I know is, and you've already mentioned it a few times, heat is harsh on pretty much everything. So it can be tough on lawns. What's the biggest mistakes people are making when watering when it gets really hot out in the summer?
Watering, you don't see too many mistakes with watering in the summer. Most people are pretty good. It's kind of intuitive. It's getting hotter, add a little more water to the lawn. It's never a bad idea. But the biggest mistake I find people do is they don't adjust the height they're cutting the grass. So sometimes you get to midsummer, it's hotter out. Some people like the little matte carpet finish look on their lawn, which is great. You can cut the bluegrass down to 2.5 inches if it's the right time. What some people do is they cut it too short in the summer, and then there's no shade for the soil, and that soil gets really dried out from the sun. And plus, pair that with the stress of cutting the grass too short on the roots, and it's just not good. That's when you start getting bare spots. So when it's really hot in the midsummer, you actually want to leave your grass a little bit longer, maybe even 3.5 inches if you can. That provides some shade. It keeps some moisture into the soil. It'll help with your watering as well.
Man, it's like once you start asking these questions and getting their answers, they're just so practical and obvious. It's like, the grass is shade for soil. I never would have thought of that for a second because it's so small, and I don't see any with my eyes, the actual shade coming off of
Another
grass.
thing too, talking about weeds with mowing in the summer. So what happens is the grass sometimes it'll be so hot, the grass might go a little dormant, right? Outside. So optimal growing temperatures for Kentucky bluegrass is usually between 13 to 15 degrees up to about 24 degrees. Outside of that, it starts to go dormant, works on root health, it doesn't grow. So what happens is you may cut the grass short, it gets really hot, it hasn't been growing. So you're like, I'm not going to mow the grass. It's good to go take a little bit off. It did grow a little bit, even if you didn't notice. But what happens is the weeds grow outside of those optimal temperatures. So your grass is dormant, the weeds are growing. And then when you do get some water, these weeds are bigger now. They take all the water. And that's how they overgrow your lawn. So I always say, the lawn's not growing. You got to go there and maintain that. You have to maintain the height, right? You're not cutting the grass, but you're maintaining the height. That way you're not letting the weeds take hold.
Okay, so let's summarize those couple of points here. So watering in the summer, it doesn't seem like you can do it too much, especially if we have hot summer. Yeah. You said it was intuitive, like get the water out, essentially. Use the tuna can if you want, but you're going to water more because it's hotter.
Yeah.
And then keep the grass even a little bit longer to prevent the damage from the heat because of the shade, and to keep it healthier to overwhelm the weeds.
That's right.
So longer grass, essentially. Now, something we didn't talk about in spring or summer yet is, so without me taking out a measuring stick, is there just like, I want to make my life easy. So these practical tips to just be like, water when it's hot, morning or evening, check the soil, and then frequency for grass cutting. I've always done weekly because that's what I was taught, not by an expert. Is that a thing?
Weekly is like we do all of our lawn cutting. It's on a weekly basis. Okay. There are certain instances where we will skip a cut, depending if there has been no growth. You might just do some trimming. I would never go more than 10 to 14 days without cutting the lawn.
Okay. Gets too long.
That's the most we would ever do. And even that, it's pretty rare. There's always some areas of your lawn that are going to need cutting. Like there's also this misconception that every area of your lawn grows at the same rate. Your backyard has different sun exposures than your front lawn. The east side may have different sun exposures than the west side. More rain might fall on your lawn than your neighbor's lawn. So it's different. So keep an eye on the whole lawn. Sometimes there's some properties we go to where we're not going to cut the front today, but we're just going to cut the back because the back grows like crazy. Like my house, for example, I got a high water table in the back. The backyard grass grows like madness, but the front, not so much.
It's the same with my house. The front of my house where the driveway is elevated and the backyard is down. Whoa. And there's some shade there. So especially in some spots, like the grass grows like wild. But, again, this idea of I have to cut the lawn. So I cut the whole lawn.
Yeah. Now
it's like maybe I only need to cut the back. Now that I have the why behind it, cut what's long. If the other is not growing, like the front yard gets blasted by the sun. Exactly. And it's the hardest part of my lawn. So maybe avoid and miss a few days there until it grows a little bit.
Yeah. This is a big one with mowing, since we're on mowing too, is most people don't do this, but switching directions with your mowing. So it's very easy to go out. I start here, I finish here, I go this way, I go that way. Right? Everyone does that.
Same thing every time. Yeah.
Yeah. So I cut my lawn. I do the diamond pattern in my front lawn. I cut diagonal one way and then diagonal the other way every time. So it gets kind of it gets bent down a different way. And then the look after is really nice. You got these like nice crisscross patterns on the lawn.
Yeah. And I do know that look. So let me ask you this then. Okay. So I'm starting my lawn. Let's say it's a perfect square and I'm going this way for that whole cut.
Yep.
Do you go diagonal and then you cut it again?
I cut it again. Yeah.
So you cut twice every time you cut
twice. My front lawn, I cut twice because I like that stripe pattern look.
That's the only reason.
To do it. You don't have to do it, but I do it for mine. Yeah.
Okay. And it's not like you lower the blades. It's cutting the same height. You're really just putting those lines in.
Same height. You're really just making lines. At the second one, you're kind of just making lines with the more, but it also helps. You're bending the grass both ways too, right? Yeah.
Okay, so you are going to get healthier grass by putting a little extra adversity on it, strengthening it both ways.
Like I've gone to people's lawns who literally have indents from their mower wheels because they've been mowing their lawn the same way for 10 years, and literally there's little indents from the mower wheels that you can see from their lawn, and that's technically that's damage, is what that is, right?
Great. Been doing it wrong this whole time, but that's why we have these conversations. Okay, great. I love it. Okay, so we haven't talked about this yet. A couple of things here. What did I want to ask? In the summer, we're going a little bit longer with grass cutting. Let's talk about clippings on the lawn. How does this help instead of hurt? Do we do it? Do we bag it? I don't bag. It was recommended to me a long time ago. Again, I don't know the why behind it, but I see people bagging it still. What do we do?
So there is one particular time where we will bag clippings on a lawn. If your lawn is infested with weeds, and it's about the time when those weeds go to seed, which is when the dandelions start getting that kind of grayish color. They start to drop seeds. So the mother plant will drop seeds. If you mow your grass and discharge those back out onto the lawn, you will get more weeds later. Now, if you're doing a full lawn program that starts with like a pre-emergent that stops weed seeds from germinating, you don't have to worry about this so much. But that's the only.
That would be with a professional, though, typically.
Yeah, like if someone's not doing lawn care and they have a lawn riddled with weeds, the first cut in the spring, we will say we're going to throw a bagger on and we're going to get rid of these clippings, because healthy grass clippings is like a mild fertilizer for the lawn. It's good for it, but you don't want weed seeds. So if your lawn is 50% dandelions and milkweeds and all that, and you don't plan on doing any kind of heavy herbicide or pre-emergent weed control, I would bag those and get rid of them.
Okay, so outside of that, as long as we're maintaining decent length, because I remember reading about if it's too long and it bunches up too much, it actually, like, what does it do?
It blocks the sun, blocks water. Yeah, that's how you get the dead spots in your lawn. It's not good for it. I don't recommend bagging grass clippings. If you have to bag them, you're probably taking too much off the lawn.
Okay,
is what I say. And people say, like, sometimes we'll have someone sign up for weekly mowing and they'll say, well, I like the grass bagged because I don't like the clippings on the lawn. And I'll always say, well, how often was a lawn being cut before? And they'll say, oh, well, whenever it needed it.
Yeah.
Right. And I'll say that means when it probably was getting a little bit too long. And I always say, like, with the weekly cut, you are not going to see any grass clippings on the lawn. Like, literally, we look back and there's nothing there. You can't see them at all. If you're just taking the 1/3 off and your grass is being maintained at 3 inches, you're not going to have a problem with clippings. Other than on your hard surfaces, right? In your patio, the curbs where you may spray it out, but you're not going to have any issues with that.
Beautiful. Okay, fertilizer in the summer. When does it actually do more harm than good? Do we need it? Let's talk about fertilizer.
So fertilizer is basically, it's just nitrogen. You're adding nitrogen to the lawn. So it's the same. What you're doing when you put fertilizer down is you're mimicking a thunderstorm. So the rainwater from a thunderstorm where there's lightning, that's nitrogen.
What?
That nitrogen comes back up through the lawn, and that's why the lightning comes down and touches. Yeah, people don't know that.
I had no idea.
Just a static charge coming back.
Okay, so walk me through that again. So why is that beneficial?
So what you want to, so the nitrogen is what basically helps the root uptakes the nitrogen, and that's what helps photosynthesis, and that's what makes the grass grow. But you can do too much, right? So in the spring, we use a spring fertilizer. It's got a higher nitrogen content. It's kind of kickstarts the growth, right? In the summer, when it's really hot, you want to use a little bit more of a mild fertilizer because you can stress out the root system. It won't uptake all the nitrogen because it may go dormant when it's too hot. And that's how you get grass burning. Interesting thing about grass burning with nitrogen, dog urine. The reason why some dogs' urine will stain a lawn is because dog urine is very high in nitrogen, depending on the breed. So if you're fertilizing your lawn and your dog's out there going in the same spot, that's why you get that yellow patch there.
So it all comes down to nitrogen dosing, essentially.
Exactly, yeah. And you want to dose it at different times throughout the season.
So early on, you higher dose of nitrogen to kickstart it throughout the summer, especially because the heat and because it could be dormant, so it's really not soaking in much of the nitrogen at all. It can burn. We have a mild fertilizer, which just means lower nitrogen content.
Lower nitrogen, yep.
Okay. And that's easy to get, Canadian Tire, any of these places, Home Hardware. And you just look for it on the bag. It says lower nitrogen.
It's always the first number.
It's always
the first number of the three is always nitrogen.
So the lower it is, or the lower of the options, that's what you use for the summer.
Yeah. You'll see it'll say, like, they may call it a summer fertilizer or like a summer stress fertilizer, and usually it'll have a lower nitrogen content. One thing that has a lower nitrogen content is a product called Weed and Feed. Only has about 10% nitrogen in it. It actually helps combat weeds a little bit too.
Okay. So, and the fertilizer normally comes in like this kind of granular material. It's never liquid.
It can be liquid. Some commercials applications do have a liquid form. Yeah, but nothing beats the granular. The granular is the best. Yeah.
Beautiful. And then do I put it on the whole lawn? Like you've mentioned a couple of times, this may need it, this may not. How do I do that?
So you want to put it evenly across the whole lawn. Now, if you have issues, so for example, I have dogs that go in the backyard, so I don't put as much in my backyard. I'll put a little bit less. Sometimes I'll even skip a fertilizing in the backyard if I think it won't do so well. It's kind of to your discretion. If we're looking after the lawn, we notice patterns and we'll make recommendations as we go based on that. Some people just say, my dog goes in the one area, I'm okay with that area just kind of being messed up from the dog, but I want the rest of the lawn to look as good as the front lawn. And we'll kind of modify it based on that.
Okay. And I don't even know the name of it, but you just get one of those little pushers, you got the fertilizer in it, and it just kind of...
So also a thing important with that is try to match the fertilizer spreader with the brand of fertilizer that you're buying, because it'll typically give you the recommendation on how to set that spreader. So if you're buying, Scott's fertilizer, buy a Scott spreader.
Okay.
Buy a Lesco spreader, because it'll tell you how to calibrate the spreader. There's a dial. It's just basically pounds per square foot or pounds per 100 meters square. But the bag will tell you how to set that spreader. Sometimes people will just buy a spreader and then buy a bag of fertilizer, and they're kind of just set it. They don't really know what they're setting it to or what the numbers mean. And most people don't know how to read the bag of fertilizer, or they don't read it. But they're all calibrated.
Okay.
All you got to do is set the dial, match it to the bag, and you're good to go.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to hire you by the end of this. It's great information. I'm like, man, everything in life, it's like you find an expert at it. Yeah, it's like anything. You want to keep your house clean. You talk to a professional cleaner, and they're like, oh my God, I didn't know 80% of this. Okay, this one seemed really important to me, is the your lawn feeling hard, compacted. How can they tell if it needs to be aerated, and when's the right time to do it?
So basically, the lawn compaction, it's tough for roots to take hold. It's tough for grass to grow when the lawn's compacted like that. You can tell, basically, it just feels like concrete. There's no sponginess to it at all. You can really feel it if you ever walk barefoot on your lawn.
Yeah, that's
what if your lawn is solid and you walk barefoot on it, you can really tell. And what the aeration does, it just kind of breaks up that soil. It allows to, if your lawn's rock solid and you're applying fertilizer, you're trying to apply seed, that stuff's just sitting on top. It's not going to work its way in deep enough. So the fertilizer gets activated with water and it goes into the soil. But if the soil is too hard, it's not going to go very far. It may not even be getting to your roots.
Right.
So a good thing to do is an aeration, right? Aeration just plugs holes 3 to 4 inches down, pulls out a core. Those stay on the lawn, kind of acts as a natural fertilizer as well. And that way you can get seed down in the hole, fertilizer down in the hole, and it just makes the lawn softer. Best time to do it, honestly, is whenever you notice your lawn is hard, like cement. There's never a bad time to do an aeration. We always recommend It's included in a lot of our programs in the spring or fall or both.
Okay, so I can't really hurt the lawn with aeration, but really, can I get it preventatively? Can I aerate preventatively before? Like, is there any benefit to doing it before it gets hard and then avoids it getting hard?
100%. If you just aerate your lawn once a season, whether it's the spring or fall, you will definitely avoid that.
Okay.
I do for my lawn, I do both. Because it's nice for when the snow melts in the spring, the lawn's already got these holes in it. All the water gets down in there. Your first fertilizer, all the stuff gets down into the holes. It gets good soil contact. We always do, if we're going to seed a lawn, we always try to pair it up with an aeration. In fact, I won't do seeding on a lawn without aerating it, because 10% of that seed might take. 80% will get eaten by the birds. The other 10% will just do nothing.
And so you aerate first, I'm assuming, before you
aerate
seed.
first. That way you get some seed down into those holes. It gets good soil contact.
Okay. I love it.